Welcome YouTube to another segment of D&D Fridays. Today we'll be taking a look at everybody's favorite ninja class, the Rogue. But before we get to that, as always, don't forget to comment down below, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. Without further ado, let's get to it.
Alright.
So when I think of Rogue, as I said, I automatically think of these sneaky fellas, typically of like ninjas and stuff like that, who sneak around, break into things, stab you from behind, and then get out of there before anybody knows what hits them. And in a way, they're like the stealth masters, comparable to monks, I think. Although in some cases, probably even more so than the monk.
Yeah, I would definitely give them the advantage on the stealth, for sure.
Yeah, and And they have a few interesting things. So they do start off with their proficiencies in intelligence and dexterity saving throws, which are some good saving throws. They get their rapiers, their bows, stuff like that. Uh, Now, one of the things about the rogue is they're known as the skill monkey class, along with the bards. So on level one, you get to choose four skills out of the given options to become proficient in, which is amazing. And being a rogue, why are you not picking up stealth as one of those options? That's definitely a given for any rogue. But some other good stuff are like sleight of hand and deception and acrobatics, athletics are some other good options to pick up as proficiency.
Yes.
And and they got a DA to hit dice, which isn't bad. It's decent. Light armor proficiency as well. Now they get some good things on their level up. So one of the primary things that they get on first level as well as on sixth level is expertise. So between the two levels, they can expertise up to four skills slash thieves tools. So basically, what that means is you're adding your proficiency bonus twice for those chosen skills, which is amazing.
Zing.
Depending on what you pick up first, you can have a freaking amazing +7 to a stat on level 1, which is ridiculous.
Yes.
And one of their primary, if not their most popular feature, is the sneak attack feature. What that does is, as long as you're wielding a finesse or hit with a finesse weapon or a ranged weapon, so basically using your dex modifier for it, as long as you don't have disadvantage on the attack and you either have advantage, you have an ally next to it, or some other special condition depending on your subclass, you get to add some extra damage onto your attack. That extra damage is actually an extra d6 every even level. So 1d6 on level 1, 2d6 on level 3, so on and so forth. So they're known as a really burst heavy damage class. Get in, poke once, get out. And you can definitely do that with their second level feat, cunning action. So what that basically means is, as a bonus action, you can take either the disengage, dash, or hide action. So depending on what you're doing, it's really good. If you're the melee rogue, then get in, poke, bonus action, disengage, getting out of there. If you're the ranged rogue, you can always fire off an arrow, bonus action, hide behind something, so your next attack has automatic advantage, triggering sneak attack.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great bonus action to have.
Yeah, and even the dash part of it can be good if you need to close the gap, or even if you have the mobile feed and already have the free disengage. Pretty much, you can always just dash in, dash out.
Absolutely. Yes.
So that's really good. And then probably I think their other very good thing is coming online on 11th level is reliable talent. So basically, whenever you make a ability check that you have proficiency in or expertise in, you can treat a roll on a d20 of a 9 or less as a 10. So the minimum rolls for your proficiency ability checks now become 10, which is amazing. And if you're expertise in that skill, you can very well get into the 20s, maybe even the 30s.
Once you hit higher level, 10, 11, 12, you're probably hitting high 20s, 30s, and then as you keep going up, you're probably living in the low 30s with that skill.
Pretty much. Pretty much. But for example, if you happen to expertise stealth, level 17, max dex, the lowest you can get is a 27 for your stealth if you have expertise in it. That's
That's
amazing.
as if you don't exist.
Yep. Basically, you're going to be hiding from anything that doesn't have blind sense or a true sight, pretty much. So when we come to our first subclass, which is the thief from the PHP, the thief is all about that sort of build-in hopper type of thief that you all know and love. So a couple of things you get is on third level, you get a new usage for your kind of action. In addition to everything that you can normally do, you can also use your kind of action to either make a sleight of hand check, use your thieves tool, disarm a trap, open a lock, or take the use an object action, which is good. But sometimes you might maybe one of your allies go down, and you want to get them back up with the potion of healing, but you don't want to give up your offensive pressure for the round. You can still do that. Poke with your action, get some damage off, run to your ally, pour a potion down their throat. So that's just one of the many applications of it.
Absolutely.
And then just, I think another cool thing is on ninth level, um, you basically have advantage on stealth checks as long as you move no more than half your movement speed. That can be really good if you utilize correctly. You're in a warehouse or something, just move half your speed, advantage on it to get to the next crate to hide behind or whatever it may be.
A little bit silly advantage on the possibility of rolling a 27, but sure.
But just this just basically solidifies your hide from everybody feature.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're completely hidden at that point. Uh, I really think I really like the level 17 skill here, thieves reflexes.
Hmm.
I mean, we had already mentioned sneak attack a little bit earlier as one of those skills. This essentially lets you use it twice. Thank you very much. On it only goes off in the first round of combat, but hey, if you can get those sneak attacks in multiple times, you might as well use it.
Yep. Now, before we continue, just a little note on sneak attack. Sneak attack, you can apply sneak attack once per turn, not once per round. So if you happen to be able to get like make a opportunity attack with your reaction, or you have a battle master friend that uses commander strike on you, or something like that, you also apply sneak attack on those attacks as well. It's technically not your turn. So
Yeah.
same premise goes with the thief reflexes feature as well. The next subclass that we have is probably one of those things that automatically comes to mind when you think of this sneaky rogue, and that's the assassin subclass. The assassin subclass has some cool stuff, even though it's kind of niche in what it can do. So the first thing is on third level is the assassinate feature. So it does a couple of things. So first off, you have a advantage on any attack rolls against a creature that hasn't taken a turn yet in combat. So if you happen to go first before somebody, first turn you have advantage on that, automatically getting your sneak attack if you hit. And in addition, if you happen to have surprised a creature that first turn and you land a hit against that specific creature and they're still surprised, then that attack is considered a critical hit, a nat 20 pretty much. So you get to double all your dice for that roll. So it's really good if you can somehow find a way to get your surprise condition off more than once in a blue moon.
Mm.
And the other cool thing about the assassin is its 17th level ability, Death Strike. So basically, what that is you're pretty much becoming a master of the instant death type of thing. So basically, whenever you attack and hit a creature that's surprised, so following in the same footsteps as his third level ability, you can force that creature to make a Constitution saving throw, which is 8 plus proficiency plus your Dex modifier. And if they fail that saving throw, you double the damage of that attack. So if you happen to hit a surprised creature, you first double it off of your assassinate third level feature, and then you double it again from this if they fail it. So you're in essence quadrupling your attack for that first turn, which is nasty.
Yeah.
If you take a look at it, let's say you're let's say you're level 19 with the max amount of sneak attack dice at 10d6 and you get that off. That's 40d6 without taking into account your weapon, any magic on you, or anything like that.
4-0. 4-0.
Yep,
Is that what we just said?
40d6.
Disgusting. Amazing, but disgusting.
That means on average you're doing over 160 points of damage.
Yeah. That's wow. Yeah, that's a great. The assassin's a great little subclass for the rogue, especially if you want those turns where you're just essentially stabbing everything in the heart.
Yep. The only thing to keep in mind is to really get all this high damage off, you need the surprise condition. So if this appeals to you, definitely talk with your DM first and see if you can work in getting some more surprise conditions off.
Totally agree.
Next up is, I think, one of the most powerful of the rogue subclasses, which is the Arcane Trickster. So the Arcane Trickster gains a little bit of spellcasting to mix in with their stealth. So they learn some spells from the Wizard subclass, and it has to come from the Enchantment and Illusion spell schools for the most part. And also you start off with 3 cantrips, one of which has to be Mage Hand. And which is cool, because the Illusion and the Enchantment schools have some really good spells from Disguise Self, Phantasmal Force, it's even Whole Person, stuff like that. So there's some good stuff in there. And then, for instance, the Mage Hand that you get is augmented by being a Arcane Trickster. So whenever you cast Mage Hand, it becomes invisible, which is good just by itself. And you can also perform, either you can stow an object by it with it, you could retrieve an object, you can use Thieves' Tool to pick a lock or something like that with your Mage Hand. So it's like, that's really good. Now you don't have to put yourself in danger when picking that trap. So,
Yeah, totally. The one of the other I just lost the word. The skills here that I find really, really cool with the Arcane Trickster is the Spell Thief. You can get at level 17, right? You essentially get the ability to steal spells, right? That's a great combination of dabbling in magic and the rogue, the rogue archetype here. So immediately after a creature casts a spell that targets you or includes you in an area of effect, so maybe Fireball? You can use your reaction to force the creature to make a saving throw. The DC is your spell DC. The save DC is equal to your spell save DC. On a failed save, you negate the spell's effect against you, and you steal the knowledge of the spell if it is at least a first level and a level you can cast. So obviously, you can't get some of the larger spells, and then that spell for essentially the next 8 hours, and you can cast it using any of your spell slots. So it's a neat little amalgamation there at level 17 with the Spell Thief skill, in my opinion.
yeah, that is definitely a cool power that you don't see a whole lot of among the classes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Now, keep in mind, as an arcane trickster, you do need to have a pretty good intelligence score to really have your saves be up there, so keep that in mind. But it's still a pretty good class nonetheless.
absolutely.
So next up, we're going to be taking a look at Xanathar's Guide to Everything, and the first subclass we have is the Inquisitive. So the Inquisitive is all about that solving of riddles, solving some puzzles, and mysteries, that type of rogue. So it's actually a pretty good character choice to pick if you're going into like the Candlekeep mysteries or something like that. So they get a few cool things. So, for instance, um, at ninth level, they have Steady Eye. They have advantage on any perception or investigation checks if they move no more than half their movement speeds. That's pretty good if you're trying to search a room for clues on a mystery, or if you're trying to solve a murder or something like that. Just don't move much, and while you're searching the desk or something, you have advantage on those checks.
You got your magnifying glass out and you're using it, right?
Yep. Yeah, I'm thinking like a Sherlock Holmes type of
Yeah,
character.
that's exactly what I was thinking too.
Yep. So, this is definitely a good class for a lot of the more RP heavy type of campaigns, as I really
Yeah.
focus in on that type of stuff. Next up, we have the Mastermind subclass. So the Mastermind is similar in a way to the Inquisitive, but a little bit different. So the Mastermind is really more about those creating of plots and stuff of that nature. Um, so they tend to be really smart and the like. Could be very cool for an end game boss or a BBEG or something like that to be a mastermind. So they got a couple of interesting things. So one of my favorite things is, um, so on third level they get Master of Tactics. So they can use the help action as a bonus action with a range of 30 feet instead of touch for to help out an ally on their attack or whatnot. So that can be very useful. Um, if you know another one of your allies really needs to make an attack or get a spell attack off or something like that, bonus action help them out with that. Help out your paladin get that big smite off or whatever it may be. So they definitely get a few cool things.
I like the skill at level 13, misdirection. Right, when you are attacked by a creature, but when you are attacked by when you are targeted, that's the word I want. When you are targeted by an attack, while a creature within 5 feet of you is granting you cover against that attack, you can use your reaction to have that attack target that creature instead of you. Right, so it just goes right into that whole spy feeling with this type of subclass. You can be like, oh, my tank is sitting here next to me. You can hit him instead of me, right?
Yep.
Woo. I kind of do that little, the little spy maneuver and hide, and I think that's another cool little advantage of this
And,
subclass.
and what makes it so cool is since I'm shifting that attack to my tank, good luck hitting that tank now.
Exactly, exactly.
So the Mastermind is a cool class for sure. Next up is the Scout subclass, also from Xanathar. The Scout has some really good stuff. So typically, when you think of a rogue, you typically think of this urban warfare type of deal. With the Scouts are typically found quite at home out in the open woods, jungles, Feywild, whatever it may be, and they make great spies for generals and stuff like that to go out and scout the enemy army real quick for me or something like that. And the scouts get some really good stuff. So, for instance, they get the skirmisher feat on third level, where if any enemies end their turn within 5 feet of you, use your reaction to move half your speed away from you without provoking opportunity attacks. So this is amazing to make a scout rogue into a ranged archer. So that's really good, especially with the steady aim feature from Tasha's. So that's really good. And then also on third level, you basically get proficiency in nature and survival skills if you don't already have it. And regardless, you also gain expertise in those two skills as well. So really just compounding on that skill monkey of a class.
So note here, right? If you're going to go into the scout subclass, don't choose nature and survival as two of the skills that you choose early on because you're going to get them at third level anyway.
Yep. So definitely keep that in mind. And I think one of my favorite, if not my favorite feature of the scout is on 13th level, ambush master. Basically means you have advantage on all of your initiative rolls.
Which is great.
That's bonkers. Because you're already going to have a good initiative from being a scout because Dex is your main stat.
Yep.
So just to have advantage on that, to get your shot off first, that's amazing. And to really put the cherry on top for that skill, that feature, is the first creature you hit during the first round of combat. Attack rolls by your allies have advantage on that creature until the start of your next turn. That's really good if you know that there's a big bad enemy or something you really need to take out. Hit that one creature. Hey, allies, can you go jump on that one creature real quick? All y'all have advantage.
I think that fits really well into the scout subclass, right? When you think of a scout, what do you think about, right? Somebody, looking out and pointing, hey, the dude's right here. And I think that ambush master really just personifies that flavor around the scout subclass.
Yeah, and it also makes me think that a scout would also benefit from having a good intelligence score to really boost up like that nature and stuff like that, and a good wisdom score especially to boost up the perception skills so you can see when enemies are coming to let your party members know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yep. Next up, we have the swashbuckler, who I always like to denote as Captain Jack Sparrow. So the swashbuckler is the closest thing you can get to being a pirate, if you wanted to. So they get some really pirate-ish type of features. So, for instance, they get rakish audacity on the third level. So number one, you get to add your charisma modifier to your initiative rolls, and then in addition to that, um, you can use your sneak attack in an additional way. In addition to all the normal rules of sneak attack, you can also apply sneak attack if the target of your attack does not have any of its allies within 5 feet of it. So it's really getting along those lines of a one-on-one duelist type of thing.
Right.
And then also with third level, it also gets fancy footwork, which basically says, yeah, regardless of if I hit or miss you, as long as I attack any one creature, that particular creature can't take opportunity attacks from me, so I could just bounce after my attack without having to worry about opportunity attacks.
Yep. I really like the capstone for Swashbuckler here too, is the Master Duelist. It lets you once per short or long rest, so you could technically use it multiple times a day if you're short resting enough. But you get the ability to, as it says in the manual, right, in the player's handbook, turn a failure into a success, right? So if you miss with an attack roll, you can just say, you know what? I'm going to try that again and roll it with advantage. Thanks a lot.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's great, especially since you can just turn around and say, yeah, I know I missed you the first time, but here's the backswing, and I'm going to make sure I hit you.
And I feel like the sailor background fits so perfectly with the swashbuckler as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So now with the rogue, we also take a look at Tasha's and see what it brings. So the first thing that you can find in Tasha's is the Phantom Rogue, which is this rogue that's all about death and ghosts and spirits and stuff of that nature. So they get a few cool things. So their first thing is Whales from the Grave on third level. So whenever you attack somebody, you can target one creature that's pretty close to the creature, within 30 feet of that creature, and you can roll half the amount of sneak attack dice that you have, and that damage goes to that second creature. And you can use it up to your proficiency bonus and regain it on long rest. So that's pretty good to help deal a little bit of damage to a second creature, which gives a small amount of AoE to a degree.
Yep.
So
I think the other skill that you get at third level, the Whispers of the Dead, is pretty neat. It lets you essentially choose one extra skill or tool proficiency basically every day, and say, I'm going to want to know this today, and you can you gain proficiency in that skill. So depending on the situation, you can uh, elbow one of your ghostly companions and be like, hey, you know this, right? Help me learn it. So I think that's pretty cool.
yeah, so I really like the Phantom Rogue. It offers a little bit of a added flair to the rogue that you don't really see too much with any of the other subclasses. And then the last subclass of the rogue is the Soul Knife Rogue. The Soul Knife Rogue is one of the two classes that operates under the psionic die system from Tasha's, and they really feed off of creating this psionic energy to attack with. Um, so you get psionic die and a few cool things that you can do with it. So on third level, you get psionic power, which is your psionic die feature, and you can do a few things with it with your psionic die. So, for instance, one of the things you can do is a psi bolster knack. So what that means is, um, whenever you fail an ability check using a skill or a tool that you have proficiency with, you can roll one of your psionic die and add it to that roll, potentially turning a failure into a success. And you only expend the die if the roll succeeds, so there's no real harm to just rolling it.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Yep. So I mean, it's like you're already known as a skill monkey, or this just adds and compounds onto that.
The Psychic Veil at level 13 is pretty sweet, right? You can weave a veil of mystic static to mask yourself, and you become magically invisible for an hour until you dismiss it. So, I mean, that's great. Hey, we're getting ready for combat. I'll make myself invisible for an hour, and then I'll go attack people. Very cool.
As I mean, what rogue doesn't want to be invisible?
Exactly. That's exactly right. Like, that's the pinnacle of rogueness right there.
Yes, indeed. So all in all, that's the rogue subclass, and overall, there's some interesting flavors for the rogue subclass. You can take it however you wish. Definitely remember that if you pick up a rogue, that especially if there's not a bard in the party, the team's probably going to be looking for you to really pull off all of your ability checks quite well, especially post 6th level when you get your second round of expertise.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yep, and with great teamwork, you can definitely be consistently getting off your sneak attack dice each round, with maybe only a once in a blue moon that you don't get it off.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to be able, you want to plan out your moves pretty well with the rest of your party. Make sure you can take advantage of that. The the nice thing is that only somebody has to be engaged, right? You don't have to be use flanking or some other extra advantage rule. As long as they're engaged, then you can take advantage of that sneak attack, which is really nice.
Yeah,
So as long as you guys are planning out the dance, the combat dance, then you're good.
yeah, and usually after the second or third session, you're probably going to have a good familiarity of where everybody's going to be on the combat field anyways. So the big thing after that is just make sure you don't have disadvantage and you'll be fine most of the time.
Exactly. Exactly.
So definitely rogue class. Definitely recommend it to play to anybody. It's a really good class and really good.
It's a lot of fun to play for sure.
Yep. And without further ado, that um, enjoy this video. And until next week, when we take a look at the next class, which is the sorcerer. Until then, keep y'all's life geeky.
Bye, everyone.